All right, welcome in another episode this week of 704 Unfiltered. I'm holding it down by myself. I usually have a producer here, no producer. I'm doing the producing today. That's all right. But we have a special guest, as always. All right, so she's probably going to get tickled when I read this. You hear her right now. An I-85 road warrior, a Charlotte Douglas frequent flyer, and a woman who bet on herself and is one of the dopest sports journalists, not only in the area, but across the country. I'm just saying that. I follow her. Well, she followed her lifelong passion for athletics and left a career in investment banking to make sports journalism her life's work. And I have no clue when she sleeps because, I mean, she's up telling fresh and compelling stories across multiple platforms, TV, social media, podcasting, writing, you name it. Here she is, Vashti Hurt, founder, editor-in-chief, Carolina Blitz. This is not your first time here, but it's your first time here.
Yes. When you asked me, and it's crazy, you asked me to come on, and I happened to be on my phone, and I responded like within seconds. You were like, dang, that's quick. But I'm like, of course I want to come on. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start here. So I was going to, in my intro, I was about to say Charlotte native, whatever. But you're not from Charlotte.
No. I came here for college. I went to Charlotte, go to 49ers, and but I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, graduate of Irmo High School. So yeah, I went to elementary school and, well, mainly middle school and high school in Columbia. So I guess Charlotte is home, though. I've been here long enough where I claim Charlotte when people ask me where I'm from, but I do have those South Carolina connections as well.
Wait. So when people ask you where you're from, you claim Charlotte?
Yes, I do.
Is that right?
Yeah, I feel like I've been here just as long as I was in South Carolina, if not longer.
Okay.
So it's like my connections and my roots. My mom moved here, so this is home now. I mean, I went to high school in Columbia, and those are my roots as well. But when people ask me where I'm from, who are not from here, I say Charlotte.
How often do you make it back? I know Columbia is only like an hour and a half-ish, hour 15. How often do you get back to Columbia?
Just for family functions. So I have aunts and uncles who are there.
You really left Columbia?
Yeah, man, come on.
Real.
Have you been to Columbia? No shade.
I used to live in Florence, South Carolina. So like, I know the struggle.
You get it. So yeah, I'll go back for family functions and stuff like that. But I'm not clamoring to go home. When I say I'm ready to go home, it's here in Charlotte.
We'll start from the beginning. From Columbia, grew up in Columbia, family still there. Your mom is a legend.
I know, right?
And your mom, former, I hate to say former because once an educator, always an educator, right? Journalist. Correct me if I'm wrong, helped integrate Winthrop University.
First black accepted.
A legend.
Yeah.
When did you recognize that?
And I understand, I guess probably high school, but I didn't appreciate it. So it was always like, oh yeah, my mom integrated Winthrop. But when you're younger, you don't understand how impactful that is because we didn't grow up, of course. By the time, we were coming up, integration really wasn't a thing.
Right.
So I knew that she was the first black accepted. I knew that she was the first black, to go to school on campus. But as far as the impact, and honestly, during that time frame, Winthrop wasn't acknowledging her as much either. It really wasn't until probably the last 10 years or so when Winthrop started acknowledging her impact and the other black women who integrated that university, their impact. And so when I start seeing her on panels and all of that stuff, I always knew she was a beast, but I didn't understand the magnitude of that. But growing up in a household with a journalist, I used to hate to have her edit my papers. It used to be I used to stop letting her edit my papers. It was a process. So I kind of got the writing bug for that, but like, editing papers and stuff like that, but you don't understand that your mom is really like, she really is somebody who impacted not just Columbia or Winthrop, but globally what she was able to accomplish. And so I hope I'm making her proud.
Yeah, nah, I know you are. I know your mom was just on a panel recently, right? At Johnson C. Smith.
Johnson C. Smith, they did something for Women's History Month. And so they featured her. It was just her, and then they were asking her questions. And of course, I try to go to all of these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, they recognized her and honored her for her contributions.
I'm kind of jumping on the timeline. Is it hard to balance that, like showing up, family time, because you do this full time? Like I feel like every time I go on the IG story, you are on 85, and I'm like, yo.
You said I don't sleep.
You don't? Do you sleep?
I mean, now I get to sleep now that March Madness is over.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
I try to get 6.
You can.
As we get older,
you can do better.
I know. I try to get 6, but as we get older, we need more rest.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be more conscious of my rest. But it's, when you're running a business, I'm an only child as well. So I don't have siblings. So like I when my mom has events and stuff, I have to be there. Or if there's something going on in Charlotte, when y'all call me to do these things, I don't want to say no,
You could have been like, nah, Nick, I can't do 704 Unfiltered. I mean, I appreciate it.
I wanted to do 704 Filtered.
Okay.
So, I'm pulled in a lot of directions, but I always see this quote, like, it was like 5 years ago, you asked to be in the space that you are now. And that's how I look at it. 5 years ago, I'm growing Carolina Blitz, but I don't feel like I have respect. Nobody really knows me. They see it, but they aren't really conscious of who I am and what I'm doing and what type of impact I'm making. And now I walk into rooms and everybody knows who I am. And there's a respect around, the sports industry here in North Carolina for Carolina Blitz. And so I can't, that's what drives me. I can't get tired. I get my rest, and I find my spaces of peace. I might binge watch a show. I love making playlists. So I have things that center and refocus me and give me a reprieve from the work. But the work is what I asked for, and I really feel like it's my calling. So it doesn't always feel like work, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. What did you want to be when you were growing up? Like, what was it like? Did you always want to be a journalist? No. I mean, you were a stockbroker. We'll get to that. But what did you initially?
A lawyer.
A lawyer.
Yeah, I want to be a lawyer.
I can see you doing that.
Yeah.
I can really see you doing that.
I can see myself doing that as well. And when you're growing up, you take these tests that are supposed to, based on the answers, tell you what field you'll be going in. Law was always one. Actually, surprisingly, writing was one. Business owner was one. And I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so it's natural that I kind of take this route. But yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer. I probably would have been a really good one, but I'm not bad at what I do now either.
I'm trying to think of the name of the law firm. What would it be? Hurt and Associates?
Probably.
Something like that.
I mean, because Hurt is kind of like, ooh. Like, it's a last name that is, I mean, you may have heard it before.
You about to hurt my pockets.
But it's, right, exactly. Or whatever. You can go many different directions with that. So, yeah. So
you wanted to be a lawyer. How did you sort of phase out of the I want to be a lawyer thing?
Well, when I was very young, I wanted to be a lawyer, which is probably elementary and middle school. I took a psychology course in high school, and I loved it. And I always loved sports. So it's interesting. Here I am, early 2000s, and going into college, and I want to be a sports psychologist.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was before even when I'm telling people this is what I wanted to do. At the time, I'm thinking I'm merging two things that I found really interesting. Now, looking back at it, I was really ahead of my time because that is something needed in sports. But I wanted to do that, and then, you go to college, you see different things. I was a music major in college.
Oh, you did it? Oh.
Yeah, I got a music scholarship at UNC Charlotte originally because I played the piano, and I used to sing. I don't sing anymore.
Wait. No. There's no such thing as used to singing. Because we just celebrate Easter. I know this episode's going to come out in the summertime, but here's the thing. Did you have a Easter solo?
I always soloed in church choir.
Oh, okay. Oh, flex. All right, go ahead, flex.
It was, I mean, I didn't go to a huge church, but it was I soloed in church. I sang the national anthem at my high school graduation.
Are those videos online?
No, come on now. If they were, I would have to
I'm a search.
I don't know, but yeah. So I felt like I guess when you asked that question, there were a lot of things that I wanted to do. I liked sports psychology. I did music, but music was a job, and it was always kind of my passion. So I didn't fare well as a music major in college, but music is something I'm still connected to. So yeah, I wanted to be a sports psychologist originally. Then you go to college, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know what I really want to be. And then you get out of college, and now you just want to make money. You want to get a job. And this is the second largest banking capital in the world. So I ended up in banking. And so that's kind of the trajectory of how it went initially.
Did you enjoy it?
No.
Because you were a stockbroker, you were in investment banking. You didn't enjoy it at all?
No, not really. What's crazy is I got a job in the online banking department, and it was always for me something that was temporary. And I saw a posting. It was Wachovia at the time,
it's throwback.
A throwback, wow. Right? It was Wachovia at the time, and they had a job opening for a financial advisor in training. So I was like, I read it. I was like, I could do this. Did the interview. They hired 3 or 4 of us. The caveat was you have to pass a Series 7. We'll give you the books, but you have to pass the test. And if you don't know, like, the Series 7 is a very, it's the test you have to pass to be a stockbroker. And some people liken it to the bar exam. I've never taken the bar, so I'm not sure. Yeah. But that's people in the financial industry would compare it to that. And I honestly, they didn't think this 20-something-year-old woman would pass the Series 7. Like, they gave me but what they didn't know is, like, we got a little something up top. So I passed the Series 7, and they didn't know what to do with me. And it was like, I'm a fish out of water. I don't know about financial industry. Yeah. It was their job to kind of mentor me and teach me. I held up my end of the bargain. And they were supposed to pair me with a senior advisor who would teach me the ropes of the business. Nobody wanted to pair with me. So I was just out here on the island by myself. And it was kind of my introduction into, like, really having to fend for myself in the world of business. And I kind of parlayed that into, like, a 10-year career. Just I made it work. Yeah. I would leave one company and, a Series 7 in Charlotte is like gold. So I never had a problem finding other gigs. Probably my favorite role was on the trading floor. Just the hustle bustle, placing trades, options trades, bond trades, stock trades. There was no type of sales requirement, because I think it was the sales that got me. Like, if you tell me no, I'm like, okay. So, but yeah, that was probably my favorite job. But I had to get out of that. It was getting to a point where I would hate going into work every morning. And I knew that that's not what I wanted for my life, no matter how good the money was. Like, I did not want to be in a position where I dreaded getting up in the morning and doing what I had to do for a living. What
year was it when was it where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm quitting my job. I'm done. I'm doing something that, and part 2 of that question, how did you know it was covering sports, being a journalist?
It was probably when I turned 30. I was like, okay, like, we're gonna have to figure out something else.
Something about that 30 where you
I know, right? It's like 20s, I'm cute, I got a little BMW, I'm flexing. And then I was like, man, this is not what makes me happy. And I credit a woman named Stephanie Glover. She had very much so the same experience as I did, but in Charleston, South Carolina. She was actually a journalist. She went to South Carolina State, got out of that, got into the financial advisor and training program, and we connected as 2 young black women who didn't have a support system within the industry, but she wanted to get back into journalism. So she started a website, and I will always post on Facebook about sports. My opinion, I might see something and I will post about it. And so that was kind of my MO on Facebook. And she said, well, I'm starting this website, and can you just write like a weekly column about sports? And I was like, I'll do it for you because we're friends, but nobody's gonna read it. Like, and people read it, And I would just watch the NFL games. I would kind of summarize what I saw in the NFL games that I watched. And I would do a weekly post about that. And that was kind of my first entry into sports journalism. And it basically grew organically. The moment I knew I wanted to do it, I covered my first NCAA tournament game in Philly. I don't even remember the year. But I covered my first NCAA tournament game in Philly. It was Duke. And I was like, okay, like, this is it. Like, this is it. I found what I want to do. And that was before I even got out of banking. I was still in banking toward the end of it, though. But I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Interesting you brought up Duke, because, you know, side note, the fans be on you about your covering of Duke. They think you are a die-hard Duke fan. I've seen the comments now. I just wanted to bring that up.
The Duke fans think I'm a UNC fan sometimes, and the UNC fans, they always think somebody is against them. I don't know where this us against the world mentality came from, where it came from Carolina. Crazy. But I feel like if the UNC fans call me out for fanning over Duke, or Duke fans will call me out, I must be doing something right, because you don't know if or where any allegiance is. Honestly, as a business owner, I appreciate the universities and the schools who support me as an independent media outlet. Yeah. And it's just as simple as that at this point.
When did Carolina Blitz start? When did you feel like, okay, I can do this on my own? I have a blueprint. I feel confident enough to do that.
Probably around 2017.
Okay.
Probably around 2017. And
that's a great year to start. I'm thinking about things that happened in the Carolina.
2017, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start pursuing this as my full time, because you know, when you do something part time, there can be dedication to it, but when you decide to really go all in, then there's a pressure added to it for it to succeed. And so 2017, I was like, I'm really going for this. And I never forget, 2018, I got my first season credential for Duke and UNC. It happened to be the Zion year and the Kobe White year. So both teams were outstanding, and here I am, season credentialed to cover these teams. And that's why you call me an 85 Warrior. I did not miss a game. I didn't miss a press conference. And most of the people in the Triangle thought I lived there. They didn't know I lived in Charlotte, because I was always there for everything. But I had to. I didn't have any choice. Plus, I'm covering these iconic brands, and they're great at basketball, and they have these outstanding players. So I made it so, like, when Duke played in Maui, I was in Maui. Like, I had to be in these spaces, and there were only two of us who covered Duke that went to Maui. But those were things that I know I had to do in order to add credibility to the brand that I was building.
I went to the site, and I don't want to say anything, and I'd be wrong, loud and wrong, even though I'm loud and wrong a lot. Do you only have one staff writer? Is it just you and one other?
Well, so it's me. I have a staff photographer. I have an intern. Okay. And then I have some writers who I've worked with in the past.
As a young journalist, right? I'm speaking for myself. As a young black man, I felt awkward at times. I felt like I had to be somebody that I was not. And it wasn't until maybe last handful of years where I feel like I found my voice, right? And I deserve to be here. But it was hard, right? As a black woman in that space. When did you, or are you growing into that space where, okay, I deserve to be here. I know I should be here.
I've been there probably. I always knew I belonged. Respect is big for me. Yeah. And I wasn't respected. And so I think that was more so, I knew I had a voice. I knew that my voice was needed. I knew that the space or the the sports journalism space, as I saw it, needed more black people. It needed more black women to tell the stories in an environment where there are a lot of young black men.
Yeah.
And so I felt like there was a void, there was a cultural type of gap in the reporting. So I never questioned whether I belonged. I did not feel welcome.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I never felt welcome. I never felt, well, at the beginning, I didn't feel welcome. It was almost like, it was almost like a toxic environment, not overtly, but I felt like.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
it's how they talk. It's how these seasoned journalists or these wannabe seasoned journalists will talk to you. They're like they talk down to you like you don't know them,
or ignore you altogether. And that's what I was faced with, and I was like, man, all right, bet. And so, it's like, okay, I know y'all don't want me here, but now you're gonna have to compete with me. I'm gonna build it so that you don't look at me as this, like you look at me legitimately as a competition to what your brand is or who you're with at the time. And that's kind of what fueled me in the beginning. Now I feel like I have a great relationship with most of the beats that I'm on, especially the Panthers. We're kind of like a little family. Like, we see each other 4 or 5 days out of the week, right? We ask each other how things going. We check in, how are your kids, what's going on. We talk about everything. And so I have gotten to the space where I feel valued and respected, and it's a good space to be in. I'm still hungry though. I'm still hungry because, there's still people who might not appreciate an independent brand. I think we're seeing it more and more now, but the hunger is probably there more so than ever. It's just now me trying to channel it in different areas. Like, now what's the next step now? Now that I've gotten to where I want it to be, let's say 4 years ago, now how can I take this to another level?
You brought up the Panthers, so I have to, that's my squad. I have a new tradition on Sundays. It started this past season, and it's the Quick Blitz spaces.
Yes.
When I talk about crash out,
oh gosh,
like what I question my fandom. I'm like, am I really that big of a fan? Like, I mean, because the way I remember the Miami Dolphins game, right, where things sort of turned around, right, and at halftime, it's Trash and Canales, which I have my critique of Canales. It's Trash and Bryce, and the crash outs that happen at halftime during those spaces, legendary.
Oh gosh.
What has that been like, covering the Panthers, dealing with the fans, all that goes around the Panthers?
The fans have always embraced me. I've said this before. Panthers fans who looked like us. Yeah. Always wanted somebody who looked like us covering their team.
Facts.
And so, I was here when Cam Newton was drafted. I didn't like how he was covered. Honestly, that was also a driving factor to me wanting to get in this business. I felt like there was a bias involved, and he was painted out to be a sore loser. They didn't like how boisterous he was, and he put the towel over his head. Oh, he's not a good teammate. All of these things, and I'm like, bro, that's like, he's being normal, and he's a young man. Like, why are you trying to dim his light? That's how I felt. And so to have the team being covered from a perspective that understands the culture and also understands the sport, I think is refreshing for a lot of fans. Also, we are kind of like, we're millennials, so we kind of understand. It's a different it's a different viewpoint than having it covered by a 60-year-old white man. So to have the team that you enjoy being covered from a lens of somebody who you can relate to personally, and they cover your team, and they're in the locker room talking to these guys, They don't play about us. Panthers fans do not play about us. And shout out to y'all, because let me tell you what, if somebody comes at me on Twitter,
Yeah, I see it.
they will ride. They will ride. And so I love the Panthers community. You got to really be ride or die to roll with this squad through the ups and the downs, and they are ride or die fans. They don't play about the team. It's not casual people.
Yeah.
They're not casual fans. There are some casuals.
Yeah.
But a lot of the folks, like, they care about the team, they care about the culture, they care about its success, and they care about the people who are covering the team and embrace us in a way that is like dope. And I love the crash outs. Like, I want you to come into space and blank. It is entertaining, and we don't have a lot of rules. We try to keep it respectable. Certain words that are off limits in mixed company. But outside of that, like, come and crash out. We want you to crash out. We want you to be able to say your opinion and trust and believe. People from the Panthers organization listen to that.
They do.
They listen to it.
It's stuff that I hear on Spaces. The next week, there's something being done to address certain issues. And there are a lot of issues, a lot of storylines. I feel like this past season has probably been the most entertaining Panthers season I've been I said part of, but I've witnessed as a fan, and more entertaining than the 2015 season.
You think so?
I think more entertaining, more parody, right?
Okay.
2015 was pretty cut and dry, right?
Yeah.
Cam Newton, we win. That's it, right? We didn't know about the other drama with Gettleman and all of that stuff until like years later, right?
Right.
But like happening in real time, this was probably the most entertaining season. I loved it, even though it was frustrating. I loved it.
Yeah, this past season was. Usually by December, people are talking mock drafts. Let's keep it real.
Yeah.
And the interest starts to, the team isn't going to the playoffs. So
Right.
now we're looking forward to how to get better. This year, legitimately, with the playoff run, people were invested in Panthers football, not just locally and the people who are actual fans of the team. There were more national people who were taking notice of the squad. I see my numbers, like December was probably my best month. Period. When it came to like December and March are usually really good with March Madness and then the Panthers. But as far as Panthers coverage and clicks and interest, December was sky high because the Panthers were in a legitimate playoff push with the Bucks. Every game meant something. We over here checking out Bryce's fits. We want to know if Bryce has the glasses on. Like everything was a story, right?
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was fun. And so I hope they're able to kind of bottle that up and take that on into next season. Even the guys in the locker room, like there's so many different personalities. And when you talk to them and get to know them, then we allow, I hope in my reporting and my style, I'm able to show the guys not just who they are as players, but you kind of get a glimpse of who they are as men as well. Because, these are fathers and husbands and men and sons and nephews and all of that. And a lot of them very astute, very intelligent. Like the whole dumb jock thing is a complete farce.
Yeah.
All of these guys, highly intelligent, very astute, hilarious. Like it's really fun being in those locker rooms. And I shout out to the players because they have embraced us as well. Like they like seeing sis or auntie. Like I probably maybe have reached auntie age now,
so it's cool.
So they like seeing that and having that familiarity and having that comfort in the locker room.
I saw you when I was working in Raleigh at CBS 17, the sports director at the time, Chris Clark.
Yes.
He had you on the show.
Chris, but and I did that because, of course, like Chris is a nice guy. Yeah. When I first got into the game, I didn't want to be on TV. But now, like the videos and the stuff, they hit more than the writing. And
that's just the world we live in.
That's the world that we live in, and it's evolving, and I have to evolve with it. So I'm gonna start doing. You're gonna probably start seeing my face more. You don't see my face if you go to Instagram. You don't see my face at all. You might hear my voice, but you don't see my face. So you probably start seeing my face more. Grow my staff. Continue to grow the brand, and then be able to just like pop up every now and then and be like, oh shoot, boss lady in the house. Yeah, I'm here. What's up, y'all? So yeah, it's just finding and to continue to growth. Just growth, and in whatever way it's supposed to grow. We kind of all figure out this stuff as we go along sometimes, and I'm still figuring out what exactly is next. But I know like we're gonna continue to go up, and 10 years from now, you're not gonna see me run up and down. Like 2 years from now, you're not gonna see me running up and down 85. I might pop in for a Duke UNC game, that kind of stuff, but it'll be more. I'll be more. It's time for me to kind of start passing the torch to those who want the same opportunity.